The night is alive with energy. Red carpet chaos, photographers screaming, journalists pushing against barriers desperate for a story. The Chicago elite are arriving at the Harlow Grand for the most exclusive fashion event of the season. The air crackles with anticipation. Everyone is waiting for something extraordinary, though no one knows what it will be. A sleek black town car pulls up to the entrance. The paparazzi swarm like bees to honey. Photographers jostle for position, jostling each other, desperate not to miss the moment. Journalists press against velvet ropes, phones raised, ready to capture whatever comes next. Security personnel stand at attention. The moment feels charged with electricity. The car door opens slowly. Time seems to suspend itself. The world holds its breath. And then she emerges. A woman steps onto the red carpet wearing something that stops time itself. It's a burgundy and gold gown. The dress is not simply beautiful, it is architectural. It is poetry rendered in fabric. The burgundy glows as if it contains its own light source. The gold beading catches the light and throws it back in geometric patterns that seem to shift as she moves. The draping is revolutionary. Every line is intentional. Every bead is placed with the precision of a master. The fabric flows and moves as if it's alive, as if it breathes with her, as if it knows her soul. The entire red carpet goes silent. Not a sound, not applause, not cheers. Perfect, stunning silence. Photographers lower their cameras. They stop. They stare. Journalists stop talking mid-sentence. Their words die in their throats. Security personnel stand frozen. The moment is so powerful that it renders everyone speechless. One photographer finds his voice first. His words come out barely above a whisper. He says the dress is not just Adrian Beaumont's signature work, but the design is entirely fresh. It's something new. Something revolutionary. A journalist screams into his phone that they need to stop the presses. This is the story. This is what they've been waiting for all night. The woman walks forward with quiet confidence. She doesn't rush. She doesn't hide. She doesn't apologize for the attention. She walks as if she belongs here, as if she always belonged here, as if the entire red carpet is hers and everyone else is simply standing in her space. The dress moves with her like it's an extension of her body. The burgundy catches the light and glows. The gold shimmers with intentional perfection. Every step she takes is deliberate. Every movement is controlled. She is undeniable. The camera pulls back and shows Victoria Ashford standing in the crowd. Victoria is wearing midnight blue. She is beautiful, polished, and expensive. But her face tells a different story. Her expression shifts from smug to horrified. Her jaw drops. Her face goes pale. She watches the woman in the burgundy gown move toward the ballroom entrance, and Victoria's entire world shifts on its axis. Beside Victoria, her friends Juliet and Jessica stand frozen. Their smug smiles have vanished. Their eyes are wide with shock. Their hands have dropped to their sides. They are watching their plan unravel in real time. Juliet whispers that it can't be. She's asking if that's Clara. Jessica barely breathes as she says that it's not possible, but it is possible. It's happening. It's real. The woman reaches the ballroom entrance. She pauses for a moment. She turns slightly. We see her face clearly for the first time. It's Clara, the invisible maid, the servant, the woman Victoria expected to humiliate, the woman everyone expected to fail. But she doesn't look invisible anymore. She doesn't look like a servant. She looks like a designer. She looks like an artist. She looks undeniable. The dramatic music swells. The entire ballroom goes silent as Clara walks through the entrance. The story is about to change everything. We rewind 3 days. The location is Victoria Ashford's penthouse apartment in downtown Chicago. The view is breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows show the entire skyline. The apartment is decorated with modern art. Everything is expensive. Everything is curated. Everything is designed to make people understand that Victoria Ashford is someone important. Someone powerful. Someone who belongs at the highest levels of society. 3 women sit in this space. Victoria Ashford is the oldest of the 3. She's in her mid-40s. She's beautiful in the way that people with unlimited money and access to the best estheticians in the world are beautiful. But her beauty is cold. It isn't warm. It intimidates. Her eyes are calculating. They're always moving, always assessing, always looking for leverage. She's dressed in designer clothes that cost more than most people's monthly rent. She's holding a champagne flute like it's a scepter, like it's proof of her superiority. Beside her sits Juliet. Juliet is sharp and polished and predatory. She's the kind of woman who laughs at people's pain. She's the kind of woman who measures her own worth by how much she can make other people feel small. She leans forward with interest as Victoria begins to speak. She's eager to hear whatever cruel plan Victoria is about to unveil. The third woman is Jessica. Jessica is younger than the other two. She's beautiful in a more conventional way. She has the look of someone who desperately wants to belong to this group. She wants to be part of the conversation. She wants to prove that she deserves to sit at this table with these important women. She watches Victoria and Juliet carefully, taking cues from them about how to react, what to find funny, what to find appealing. Victoria leans back in her chair. She takes a slow sip of champagne. She lets the moment build. She understands the power of anticipation. She understands how to control a room. Victoria says that she has an idea. It's absolutely genius, and it's absolutely vicious. Juliet immediately leans forward and says she's listening. She wants to hear this. She's hungry for cruelty. She's hungry for a story about someone being broken. Victoria begins to explain. She asks if Juliet knows that maid she has, the one named Clara, the one who's been with her for 6 years. Juliet says she does. She calls her the invisible one, the woman nobody notices, the woman that Victoria pretends doesn't exist at dinner parties. Jessica nods quickly. She doesn't want to be left out of the conversation. She agrees that Clara is invisible. She agrees that Clara is the kind of person people look right through. Victoria smiles. It's a wicked smile, a smile that contains no kindness, a smile that suggests she's thinking about something cruel. Victoria says she's going to invite Clara to the Chicago Fashion Gala. There's a pause. Then Juliet bursts out laughing. She can't believe it. She's asking Victoria if she's serious. Is she really going to invite her maid to the most exclusive event of the season? Is she really going to do that? Victoria takes another sip of champagne. Her voice is calm. Her voice is almost serene. She says she's going to invite Clara as her guest. Clara will be in the main ballroom. Clara will be front and center. Everyone will see her. Jessica leans back in her chair. Her eyes are wide with dark amusement. She says that's absolutely cruel. She says she loves it. She's asking Victoria why she would do something like that. What's the purpose? What's the goal? Victoria stands up and walks to the window. She looks out at Chicago below her. She talks about how entertaining it will be. She talks about how much she wants to watch the look on everyone's faces when they realize the woman in the beautiful dress is just help. Help is not supposed to be visible at events like this. Help is supposed to stay in the background. Help is supposed to arrange things and then disappear. But Victoria is going to force Clara into the spotlight. And then she's going to watch her fail. Victoria turns back to face the two women. She says she wants to watch Clara try to fit in with people who are infinitely her superior. She wants to watch Clara understand that no matter what dress she wears, no matter how much money is spent on her appearance, she will always be less than these people. She will always be below them. She will always be helped. Juliet asks if Clara will know what's happening. Will she understand that she's being set up? Will she realize that this is a trap? Victoria nods slowly. She says, oh yes. She'll make sure Clara understands that she doesn't belong. She'll make sure Clara spends the entire evening knowing that she's the joke, that everyone is laughing at her, that she's the entertainment for the evening. Jessica asks what Victoria will tell people when they ask who Clara is. How will Victoria explain her presence? Will she lie about who Clara is? Victoria leans back, satisfied with her plan. She says she'll tell them the truth. She'll tell them Clara works for her. She'll tell them Clara cleans her home. She'll watch their faces change. She'll watch them understand that Victoria has brought help to an event where help is never supposed to be visible, where help is supposed to be invisible. Juliet takes a sip of champagne and smiles wickedly. She says this is brilliant. This is actually brilliant. She's asking if Clara has any idea what's coming. Does Clara suspect anything? Victoria shakes her head. She says Clara has no idea. Clara thinks Victoria is being nice. Clara probably thinks this is some kind of opportunity. Clara has no idea that Victoria is about to orchestrate the most public humiliation of her life. Clara thinks she's being chosen. Clara thinks she's being seen. But really, she's being set up for destruction. Jessica asks what kind of dress Clara will wear. What will Clara choose? How will Clara represent herself? Victoria responds with a dismissive shrug. She says she told Clara to find something appropriate to represent her household. But let's be real, Victoria says. Clara has no taste. Clara has no money. Clara has no access to the right designers or the right estheticians or the right people. Whatever Clara scrapes together will prove that you can take a servant out of the kitchen, but she'll still look like a servant. Her lack of style won't change what she is. Her lack of understanding about fashion won't change her fundamental position in society. Juliet asks if Victoria is giving Clara a budget. Is Victoria providing money for the dress? Victoria laughs. She says she threw Clara a few $1,000s, just enough so Clara wouldn't look completely homeless, but Clara will probably blow it on something tacky and out of place. The failure will be spectacular. The humiliation will be exquisite. Jessica nods slowly. She says they need to plan their approach for the night of the gala. They need to make sure everyone understands who Clara is before she even arrives. They need to set the narrative. They need to make sure that when Clara walks in, everyone already knows that she's just help. Everyone already knows that Victoria brought her as a joke. Victoria leans forward. She says she's already planned everything. She's going to make sure the right people know. She's going to make sure that when Clara walks in, there's already a narrative waiting for her. The narrative begins with who Victoria brought. Look at what Victoria is parading around like it matters. Look at this woman who thinks she can pretend to be something she's not. Juliet smiles wickedly. She says Victoria is going to ruin Clara. She's going to destroy her completely. Victoria's voice is cold. She says she's going to ruin Clara completely. And Clara will go back to her apartment that night knowing that she was the punchline of the biggest event of the season. Clara will know that everyone was laughing at her. Clara will understand her place. They clink their glasses together. Victoria raises her glass. She says to Clara's humiliation. Juliet and Jessica raise their glasses as well. They echo the toast. To Clara's humiliation. They drink. Their laughter fills the penthouse. Their cruelty hangs in the air like smoke. Later that morning, the scene shifts to Victoria's mansion, not the penthouse where Victoria conducts her social life. This is where Victoria actually lives. It's a mansion that sits on the edge of Chicago, looking out over the city. It's beautiful and cold and empty. There are rooms nobody uses. There are spaces that exist only for appearance. Clara is in the kitchen. She's preparing lunch. Her movements are graceful. Her movements are practiced. She's been doing this for 6 years. She knows exactly what Victoria likes. She knows the exact way Victoria prefers her food prepared. She knows the temperature and the presentation and the exact arrangement on the plate. Clara takes pride in her work, even though Victoria doesn't appreciate it. Even though Victoria barely acknowledges that Clara exists, Clara is preparing an elaborate lunch. She's making multiple components. Every element is thoughtful. The protein is perfectly cooked. The vegetables are arranged with care. The sauce is balanced. The garnish is placed with intention. This is art. Clara is creating art, but Victoria will look at this lunch and will only see something functional. Victoria will look at this lunch and will eat it without comment. Victoria will finish and will ask for something different tomorrow. The kitchen door opens. Victoria enters with Juliet and Jessica. The three of them are still laughing about something. They're still buzzing from their conversation about Clara's humiliation. Victoria barely glances at Clara before speaking. She summons Clara like she would summon a servant, like she would summon someone who exists below her notice. Clara looks up from her work. There's already anxiety in her expression at being summoned so directly. She wipes her hands on her apron. She stands and approaches Victoria. Clara asks what Victoria needs. She uses formal language. She uses the language of someone who has learned to be invisible. She uses the language of someone who knows her place. Victoria extends an envelope. The envelope is cream-colored. The paper is heavyweight. It's the kind of paper that signals importance. It's the kind of envelope that means something significant is contained within. Juliet watches with smirking anticipation. She says, "Oh, this is going to be good." She's thrilled to see this moment unfold. She's excited to watch Clara open this envelope and realize what's being asked of her. Jessica barely hides her smile. She says she can't wait to see the look on Clara's face. She's imagining the moment when Clara realizes what's about to happen. She's imagining Clara's confusion and anxiety. Victoria speaks to Clara. She says Clara has been invited to the Chicago Fashion Gala. It's happening on March 15th. Clara will be Victoria's guest. Clara will attend as someone important. Clara will be invited to the most exclusive event of the season. Clara looks at the envelope like it's dangerous. She looks confused and uncertain. She doesn't understand. She asks Victoria if she's understood correctly. Is Victoria saying that Clara, Victoria's employee, is being invited to the Chicago Fashion Gala? Is that what's happening? Victoria's voice is sharp. She cuts through Clara's confusion. She says that Clara will go as Victoria's guest. Victoria has left a budget for Clara to get a dress. Clara should try not to look completely ridiculous. This is Victoria's household that Clara will be representing. Clara will experience what it's like to be in a room with people who are infinitely superior to her. People who have education and wealth and status. People who understand fashion and society and culture in ways that Clara never will. Juliet turns to Victoria with a question. She asks if Clara has any idea what this is really about. Does Clara understand the true purpose of this invitation? Victoria shakes her head. She says Clara has no idea. Clara is completely clueless about what's about to happen. Jessica asks if Victoria is going to tell her. Is Victoria going to warn Clara about what's coming? Victoria's response is cold. She says of course not. She doesn't want to warn Clara. She wants to see the realization dawn on Clara's face when she arrives at the gala and understands what this really is. She wants to watch Clara's face change as she comprehends that she's been invited not to belong but to be excluded. Not to be celebrated but to be humiliated. Clara is still holding the envelope. She's confused and growing anxious. She tries again to find her voice. She tries to ask about the dress. She tries to say that she's not sure she understands what Victoria wants her to wear. Victoria cuts her off sharply. She waves her hand as if Clara's concerns are nothing. Victoria says Clara doesn't need to understand. Clara just needs to show up. Clara needs to let people look at her. Clara needs to let people wonder who she is. And then Clara needs to let them understand that she's Victoria's maid. That no matter what Clara is wearing, that's all Clara will ever be. That's Clara's only identity. That's Clara's complete reality. Juliet and Jessica laugh. The sound is cruel and cutting. It echoes through the kitchen. Juliet says Clara is going to be so out of place. Clara is going to walk in, and immediately everyone is going to realize that Clara doesn't belong. Jessica agrees. She says everyone is going to know immediately. One look and they'll understand exactly what's happening. One look and they'll understand that Clara is help. Help dressed up in a fancy dress, but help nonetheless. Victoria reiterates her disdain. She says it's perfect. A servant pretending to be a guest. It's absolutely perfect. Victoria doesn't care what Clara finds to wear. Victoria just wants Clara to make sure the dress doesn't embarrass Victoria too much. Victoria's reputation matters. Victoria's status matters. Clara matters only insofar as Clara's appearance reflects on Victoria. Clara tries again to find her voice. She tries to speak. She tries to say something about the dress. She says she actually has some thoughts about what would work for her. She's offering to contribute to the conversation about the dress. Victoria dismisses her with a wave of her hand. Victoria says she doesn't care about Clara's thoughts. Victoria doesn't want to hear Clara's opinions. Clara just needs to show up. Clara needs to let everyone look at her. And then Clara needs to let them understand that Clara cleans Victoria's home. That's all Clara will ever be. That's Clara's complete identity. Juliet and Jessica laugh again. Their cruelty is evident. It drips from their voices. It shows in their faces. Juliet asks if Clara even knows how to book an appointment with a real designer. Does Clara understand how this works? Does Clara know anyone in the fashion industry? Victoria smiles coldly. She says she gave Clara the contact for Adrian Beaumont's studio. She did it just to see him laugh Clara out of the room. Victoria gave Clara this contact expecting that Adrian will take one look at Clara and will understand that Clara doesn't belong. Adrian will gently but firmly tell Clara that his studio isn't the right place for her. Clara will think it was a real opportunity. Clara will think she matters. And then she'll arrive and understand the truth. Jessica nods. She says Victoria is evil. She says she loves it. She's delighted by Victoria's cruelty. She's excited to watch this plan unfold. Victoria finishes with the details. She says the gala is March 15th. Clara needs to be ready at 6 o'clock. A car will come to pick Clara up, and Victoria adds one final insult. She says Clara should try not to embarrass herself too much. Clara looks at the three women staring at her with expressions of pure disdain and cruelty. She says yes, ma'am. She accepts her dismissal. Victoria delivers her final insult. She says she finished her lunch, and she wants Victoria to make it better this time. The lunch was mediocre yesterday. Clara is mediocre at most things. But perhaps whatever fabric Clara drapes herself in will distract people from Clara's fundamental mediocrity. Juliet and Jessica follow Victoria out of the kitchen. They're still laughing. Their laughter echoes through the mansion. Clara stands alone with the envelope in her hands, but then something shifts in Clara's expression. A spark of quiet determination ignites in her eyes. She glances down toward the counter. Hidden underneath, there's a worn sketchbook. Clara reaches down and pulls it out. She opens it carefully. The pages are filled with brilliant fashion designs, professional-grade sketches, detailed drawings of dresses that are works of art. Every sketch is original. Every sketch represents hours of study and thought and creativity. Every sketch proves that Clara has been studying fashion in secret. Clara has been creating in secret. Clara has been dreaming in secret. Clara looks at her sketchbook. She looks at her designs. She looks at her art. And in that moment, something inside her hardens into resolve. We push past the threshold of the Ashford mansion, moving back through the fog of 6 long years. The music shifts from the thumping energy of the red carpet to a low, rhythmic, almost mechanical melody. The sound of routine, the sound of a clock ticking away a life in the shadows. It is 4:30 in the morning. The city of Chicago is still wrapped in darkness, a frozen blue hue pressing against the massive floor-to-ceiling glass windows of the mansion. The rooms are empty, vast, and echoing with a profound, expensive silence. A single light flickers on in the basement quarters. Clara stands before a small, cracked mirror. She pulls her hair back, tying it tightly, efficiently, with a plain black band. She looks at her reflection. Her eyes are tired, shadowed by years of minimal sleep, but there is an unbroken stillness in them. She adjusts the collar of her plain gray uniform. She takes a deep breath, steps out of her room, and ascends the cold stone stairs into Victoria Ashford's world. The camera follows her movements in a seamless, unhurried sequence, capturing the invisible labor that builds the foundation of Victoria's perfect life. Clara moves through the grand hallway like a ghost. She polishes the brass handles until they reflect the moonlight. She uses a fine brush to dust the intricate moldings of the high ceilings, her eyes tracing the architectural lines with a quiet, subconscious appreciation for form and balance. She changes the linens in the guest rooms, pulling the heavy Egyptian cotton taut across the mattresses, smoothing out every microscopic wrinkle with the back of her hand, until the surface is as flat and flawless as a sheet of ice. Her hands are rough, the skin near her cuticles slightly raw from the harsh cleaning chemicals, but her touch is incredibly gentle, filled with an innate reverence for order and beauty. By 6:30, the first rays of the sun cut through the skyline, flooding the grand kitchen with a sharp, golden light. Clara is already at the Marble Island. Her movements are a beautifully choreographed dance of precision. She is preparing Victoria's morning tea and light breakfast. She doesn't just slice the fruit. She cuts it into exact, uniform geometric shapes, arranging them on a stark white porcelain plate in a minimalist design that mimics modern abstract art. She places a single mint leaf exactly 3 millimeters from the center, tilting it at a perfect angle to catch the morning sun. She pours the hot water over rare loose-leaf emerald tea, timing the steeping process down to the second with an old silver pocket watch that belonged to her grandmother. The heavy oak doors of the master suite swing open. Victoria Ashford steps into the kitchen. She is wrapped in a silk robe that costs more than Clara earns in 3 months. Her face is covered in an expensive overnight mask, her expression instantly tight, scanning the room for a single flaw. She doesn't look at Clara's face. She doesn't say good morning. She walks straight to the island, slides her phone across the marble, and looks down at the plate. Victoria picks up the silver fork, moves the mint leaf aside with a look of mild disgust, and takes a microscopic bite of a melon slice. She says that the melon is slightly bruised on the western edge, and she asks if Clara is selecting the produce with her eyes closed these days. Clara keeps her hands clasped tightly behind her back, her posture perfectly straight, her voice level and devoid of any defense as she says she will speak to the grocer immediately, ma'am. Victoria takes a sip of the tea, closes her eyes for a fraction of a second as the flawless brew hits her palate, but she instantly covers her satisfaction by setting the cup down with a sharp click against the saucer, telling Clara that it's acceptable, but barely, and that she needs the master living room prepared for the interior design consultation by 10 o'clock sharp, because Alastair Vance is coming, and she will not have her reputation compromised by a lazy household. By 9 for 4 to 5. The living room has been completely transformed, but it wasn't transformed according to Victoria's instructions. We see a flashback within the scene. 2 hours earlier, Victoria had ordered Clara to place a heavy, garish gold-leaf Baroque mirror on the central mantelpiece and surround it with massive, blood-red roses. Clara had stood there looking at the space, knowing intuitively that the heavy gold would crush the delicate mid-century modern lines of the room, and that the blood-red roses would look tacky against the pale gray silk walls. Working in a fever of quiet defiance while Victoria was upstairs getting her hair done, Clara had made an executive decision. She carried the heavy gold mirror down to the basement herself, her arms shaking under the weight. In its place, she mounted a stark, frameless minimalist circular mirror. She replaced the loud red roses with a single, structural branch of white magnolia buds placed inside a rough, charcoal-colored ceramic vase. The room suddenly breathed. It went from looking like a cheap palace to an elite, high-fashion sanctuary. The doorbell rings with a heavy, authoritative chime. Clara opens the door to reveal Alastair Vance, the most ruthless, highly sought-after interior design critic in the Midwest. He is a man dressed entirely in sharp black wool, his eyes hidden behind thick, intellectual frames. He walks into the grand foyer, his nose slightly in the air, prepared to be thoroughly unimpressed. Victoria floats down the grand staircase, her laughter practiced and musical. Her hands extended as she cries out that Alastair, darling, it has been far too long and welcome to her humble little project. Alastair doesn't take her hands. He walks straight into the master living room. He stops dead in his tracks. His eyes anchor on the mantelpiece. He looks at the frameless circular mirror, then down at the structural charcoal vase with the white magnolia buds. The silence stretches for 10 agonizing seconds. Victoria's smile freezes on her face. Her eyes dart frantically around the room, realizing Clara changed her layout, her chest tightening with an impending fury. She opens her mouth, ready to scream for Clara and blame her for the disaster, ready to say that the maid ruined her vision. But before Victoria can utter a word, Alastair lets out a long, reverent breath, shakes his head in absolute awe, and says that it is absolutely transcendent. He turns to Victoria, his eyes wide with a newfound, profound respect, telling her that he had always thought she was just another wealthy woman with a checkbook. But this layout, the restraint of this circular mirror against the gray silk, the raw, brutalist texture of the charcoal vase contrasting with the delicate magnolia buds, it is the work of a true visual poet. He asks her how she came up with the courage to reject the traditional Baroque trends and choose something so avant-garde, so profoundly architectural. Victoria's recovery is instantaneous. The panic in her eyes vanishes, replaced by a cold, calculating smooth grease. She steps into the room, tilting her head gracefully, looking at Clara's design as if she had spent weeks drawing it herself. Victoria lets out a soft, humble laugh, touches the pearls at her neck, and says that, "Oh, Alistair, you know how she is. She simply couldn't sleep the previous night because the room was screaming for texture. So she went down to her private collection, pulled this specific charcoal vase, and told herself that we must embrace the negative space. We must let the lines speak for themselves, and it's just a little instinct she had." Clara stands in the shadows of the arched doorway, holding a silver tray with sparkling water. She watches Victoria glide around the room, absorbing Alistair's glowing praise. Clara looks down at her own rough hands, the hands that actually carried the heavy mirror, the hands that selected the magnolia branches from the frozen garden at dawn. She doesn't say a word. She doesn't clear her throat. She simply steps forward, sets the water down without making a sound, and fades back into the kitchen, her jaw tightening in a silent, burning resolve. The scene shifts to 2 years later. It is the evening of the annual autumn equinox dinner party at the mansion. The dining room is massive, capable of seating 30 of the most powerful corporate executives and cultural icons in Chicago. The guests are arriving, the sound of low jazz and expensive laughter echoing through the halls. In the kitchen, the pressure is suffocating. Victoria has hired a high-end catering team, but she has left the entire table landscape and visual presentation to Clara. We see Clara standing over the 30-foot mahogany table. She has rejected the standard white tablecloths. Instead, she has sourced massive, raw charcoal slate tiles to use as chargers. She is wrapping each linen napkin in a thin, delicate strand of dried copper wire, bending the wire into small, unique geometric knots that look like miniature modern sculptures. She is placing dark, moody plum-colored glass stems next to matte black flatware. The table looks dangerous, incredibly beautiful, and completely unlike anything high society has seen before. Victoria storms into the dining room, fully dressed in a glittering emerald gown. She looks at the black plates and the copper wire, and her face instantly contorts into an ugly, panicked mask. She screams at Clara, asking what this garbage is, if she has lost her mind, and if she is trying to make her house look like a Gothic graveyard for the CEO of Vanguard Holdings. She demands that Clara tear it all down and bring out the traditional gold porcelain immediately. Before Clara can move, the double doors open and Julian Sterling, the notoriously difficult cultural philanthropist whose foundation funds the Chicago Museum of Contemporary Art, walks into the room ahead of the other guests. He stops at the edge of the mahogany table. He adjusts his glasses, bending down to look closely at the copper wire knots, his fingers tracing the edge of the charcoal slate. Victoria rushes over, her voice pitching high with desperation, saying that, "Julian, please forgive this mess. Her staff completely bungled her instructions, and she is having them strip the table this very instant to bring out the proper gold service." Julian raises a single hand, silencing her instantly. He doesn't look up from the slate. He says that if she changes a single element of this table, he will leave the party right now. He looks at Victoria, his expression filled with intense admiration, telling her that this table landscape is a masterpiece of conceptual design, that the contrast between the organic texture of the slate and the industrial coldness of the copper wire is brilliant commentary on urban decay and luxury. And he asks her which European designer she flew in to execute this vision for her. Victoria doesn't blink. She smooths down the front of her emerald gown, takes Julian's arm with a smug, triumphant smile, and says that, "Oh, Julian, you catch everything, don't you?" She didn't fly anyone in. She spent the entire afternoon in her studio experimenting with industrial elements because she wanted her guests to feel the tension of the city tonight, and it's just her little way of keeping the evening interesting. The camera pulls back to find Clara standing near the kitchen swinging door. The light from the kitchen cuts across her face, splitting it in half, one side in deep shadow, the other in sharp focus. She watches Victoria laugh at Julian's compliments. Clara's expression isn't one of sadness anymore. The hurt from the early years has crystallized into something much heavier, something much more dangerous. It is the look of an artist watching a thief wear her crown, knowing that the thief doesn't even understand the language the crown was forged in. We move to the final year of history, just months before the gala invitation. It is a rainy afternoon, and Victoria is hosting an intimate tea for Juliet and Jessica in her private conservatory. The glass roof is being pounded by the rain, creating a dramatic, dark backdrop. The three women are looking at a series of fabric swatches that Victoria's personal stylist brought over for her upcoming winter wardrobe. Victoria treats the expensive silks onto the glass table with a sigh of immense boredom, saying that everything is so tedious this season. The designers have completely lost their minds, and there is no structure, no vision, just lazy drapery. Juliet sips her tea, looking out at the rain, saying that, well, Victoria, maybe you should just wear the midnight blue Beaumont gown again. It's safe, it's expected, and nobody will look too closely. Victoria sneers, saying she does not do safe, and she does not do what is expected. Clara enters the conservatory, carrying a fresh tray of warm scones and clotted cream. As she sets the tray down, her apron catches the edge of Victoria's leather handbag on the floor, tipping it over. A small, worn notepad falls out of Clara's apron pocket, sliding straight across the marble floor and stopping right at Jessica's feet. Jessica looks down, chuckling, and picks it up, asking what this is, if it's a shopping list for toilet cleaner. She opens the notepad casually. Her laughter stops instantly. Juliet looks over Jessica's shoulder. Both women freeze. The camera cuts to the page. It is a highly detailed charcoal and ink sketch of a structural, high-collared winter coat with a revolutionary geometric asymmetric lapel that creates an illusion of a floating shoulder. The lines are incredibly clean, professional, and undeniably brilliant. Victoria snaps her fingers, telling Clara to pick up her trash and get out. But Jessica holds onto the notepad, her eyes wide as she looks at Victoria, asking her since when she lets her maid carry around original sketches from the house of Balenciaga. Victoria frowns, snatching the notepad from Jessica's hand. She looks down at Clara's drawing. We see Victoria's eyes widen for a split second, a shock of recognition hitting her brain. She recognizes the sheer genius of the lines. But her face hardens instantly into a mask of pure, icy ownership. Victoria lets out a loud, mocking laugh, tossing the notepad onto the table, and says that, oh, that old thing, she had forgotten she left that lying around. She had sketched that asymmetric lapel concept the previous weekend while sitting in her study because she was disgusted by the current winter catalogs, and she must have dropped the page, and Clara simply picked it up from the floor like the little magpie she is. She looks up at Clara, her eyes narrowing into a threatening glare, asking if that's right, Clara, if she found her sketch on the study floor. Clara stands there. The silence in the conservatory is deafening, heavy with the sound of the rain beating against the glass above them. Juliet and Jessica are staring at her, their faces filled with a cold, superior curiosity. Clara looks at Victoria's eyes, eyes that are practically begging her to resist so she can fire her on the spot, eyes that are claiming absolute ownership over Clara's soul. Clara lowers her gaze slightly, keeping her voice completely empty of emotion, dead and steady as she says, "Yes, ma'am. She found it on the floor of your study, and she apologizes for keeping." Smiles a grand, magnanimous expression of victory, waving her hand to dismiss her, saying that it's quite all right, Clara. She knows how hard it must be for people of her background to resist looking at beautiful things, but she can go back to her kitchen now. The scones are getting cold. Clara picks up her notepad, places it back into her apron pocket, and turns around. As she walks down the long, echoing glass corridor back toward the main house, the camera stays tight on her face. Her eyes are not looking at the ground anymore. They are bright, focused, and burning with a fierce, quiet electricity. The 6 years of stolen credit, the 6 years of silence, the 6 years of being called a magpie for her own genius, it all settles into her bones, hardening into the ultimate, undeniable resolve that will carry her straight to the red carpet of the Harlow Grand. 3 days later, the location is Adrienne Beaumont's design studio. This is not a typical studio space. This is a temple to fashion. The walls are lined with fabrics in every color imaginable. There are mood boards everywhere. There are sketches and technical drawings and color swatches pinned to every surface. There are fabrics draped from the ceiling. There are dress forms wearing works in progress. The space itself is a work of art. The space tells you that Adrienne Beaumont is a master. The space tells you that this man has dedicated his life to the creation of beauty. Adrienne Beaumont himself is sitting behind a large wooden design table. He's in his 50s. He's handsome in the way that people devoted to beauty often are. His face is lined with intelligence and experience. His eyes are kind but penetrating. He moves with the grace of someone who understands proportion and form. He understands how to present himself. He understands how to create an impression. The studio door opens. Clara enters. She's carrying a worn portfolio under her arm. She's also carrying a piece of burgundy silk. The silk is beautiful. The silk is expensive. The silk has clearly been saved for a specific purpose. Clara is nervous. Her hands are trembling slightly, but it's not from fear. It's from anticipation. It's from the realization that she's about to take a risk. She's about to expose something that she's kept hidden. Adrienne studies Clara for a long moment without speaking. He's taking in her posture. He's looking at the way she carries herself. He's trying to understand who this woman is. His penetrating eyes move to the portfolio she's holding. His gaze is intense but not unkind. Finally, Adrienne speaks. He asks Clara to tell him about her relationship with Victoria Ashford. Clara responds quietly, but as she speaks, her voice steadies. She's prepared for this moment. She's thought about what she would say. She explains that she works for Victoria. She's worked for Victoria for 6 years. Victoria invited her to the gala with the intention of humiliating her. Victoria believes that Clara is going to fail spectacularly. Victoria expects that Clara will look out of place and ridiculous and prove that help will always look like help, no matter what dress help wears. Adrienne leans forward. His interest is deepening. He notices the portfolio that Clara is gripping. He asks Clara what she thinks. Does Clara agree with Victoria's assessment? Does Clara believe that she's going to fail? Clara places her portfolio on Adrienne's table. Slowly, carefully, she opens it. The pages reveal brilliant, professional-grade fashion designs. Each sketch is complete with annotations and notes. There are fabric swatches included: Italian silks, French linens, Japanese cottons. Each fabric is extraordinary. Each fabric is a masterpiece in itself. Adrienne's jaw drops. He stares at the sketches. He carefully, reverently runs his hands over the fabric swatches. He's treating them like they're precious, like they're sacred. Clara speaks with growing confidence. She says she knows fashion. She studied fashion in secret for years. She doesn't want Victoria to pick a dress for her. She doesn't want to wear something off a rack from a department store. She designed this garment herself. She brought the draping concepts, brought her vision. She just needs Adrienne to help her build it. She needs Adrienne to refine the construction. She needs Adrienne to help her make it undeniable. Adrienne looks up from the sketches. His eyes are glistening. His voice carries weight and memory. He says his mother was a maid. She worked in a wealthy house. Very much like Clara, she cleaned, she organized, she made other people's lives beautiful. And the people she served treated her exactly like Victoria treats Clara. They looked through her. They mocked her. They made her feel small. Adrienne continues. He says he remembers being a child watching his mother serve dinner to the family. She had prepared an exquisite meal. Every element was perfect. The mother of the house tasted the meal and said this will do and moved on. That was all the acknowledgement she received. Adrienne saw his mother's face fall. He saw her try to hide her disappointment, but he responds softly. Her heart aches for Adrienne's mother. She says she's sorry to hear that. She understands what Adrienne is describing. Adrienne turns back to face Clara directly. His eyes are wet. There are tears there, though he blinks them away quickly. He says his mother died never knowing that she was beautiful, never knowing that her life had value, never knowing that the work she did mattered. She died believing what they told her. She died believing she was less than. She died believing she didn't matter. She died believing that her life was small and invisible and ultimately worthless. Adrian pauses. He takes a breath. He says, "But you, Clara, you are different. You are a creator." Victoria wanted to use Clara for entertainment, but Clara has brought Adrian a weapon of absolute genius. Clara isn't just a guest going to that gala. Clara is the architect of her own ascension. Adrian moves closer to Clara. He studies her face carefully. He's looking at something deeper than her physical appearance. He's looking at her essence. He's looking at the thing inside her that refused to be broken. Adrian continues. He says, "Let's build Clara's masterpiece. Let's create something undeniable. Let's make sure that when Clara walks into that ballroom, everyone understands that they're looking at an artist." Clara looks at Adrian. She gains a massive measure of courage just from his belief in her. She says, "Okay, she's ready. She's willing. She's committed to this." Adrian begins with a question. He asks what Clara dreams about. When Clara is alone in her apartment at night, when Clara is lying in bed before sleep, what does Clara dream about? Not nightmares, not fears, dreams. What does Clara hope for? Clara thinks carefully. Her mind drifts to the private thoughts she rarely shares with anyone. She says she dreams about creating things, beautiful things, things that matter. When she's working in Victoria's home, organizing the closet or arranging flowers, sometimes she loses herself in it. She imagines what she could create if someone gave her the chance. If someone believed she had the ability to make something beautiful. Adrian nods. He writes notes in his sketchbook. He's documenting this moment. He's capturing Clara's words. He asks another question. He wants to know what beauty means to Clara, not according to magazines or fashion or what society says. What does beauty mean to Clara personally? Clara responds thoughtfully. Her voice becomes more confident as she speaks. She says beauty is when something is made with intention, when someone cares about every detail, when you can feel that someone put their whole self into something. It's not about being perfect. It's about being honest. It's about showing care. When she makes a meal, she tries to make every element matter. The presentation, the taste, the way it feels in your mouth, that's beautiful to her. When she cleans a room, she doesn't just clean it. She arranges it so it feels peaceful and organized and cared for. That's beauty. Adrian smiles warmly. His entire face transforms with the genuineness of his expression. He says that's exactly right. That's the answer that tells him who Clara is. Clara understands beauty because she's been creating it her entire life. Every meal Clara prepares, every home Clara organizes, every small task Clara does with care, that's beauty. Victoria doesn't understand that. Most people don't, but Adrian does, and that's what matters. Adrian takes Clara's measurements, but he doesn't do it like a tailor would. He doesn't do it mechanically. He moves with reverence. He treats the act like he's documenting something precious and sacred. He holds Clara's arm and looks at the shape of it. He stands back and studies her proportions. He looks at her coloring and the way light hits her skin. He examines the way she stands. He studies the way she holds herself. He's not just measuring her body. He's studying her essence. He's trying to understand the thing that makes Clara Clara. He's preparing to bring her dress to life in a way that reflects her inner truth. Adrian speaks with a voice filled with purpose and passion. He says they are going to create Clara's design. It's going to be a weapon of visibility. When Clara walks into that ballroom wearing it, the only person who's going to be humiliated is Victoria. Because Victoria thought she could control the narrative. Victoria thought she could use Clara for her entertainment and walk away victorious. But instead, Victoria is going to create Clara's moment of ascension. Victoria is going to create the moment when Clara becomes undeniable. Over the next 3 weeks, Adrian and Clara work together. The work is intense. The work is consuming. They work day and night on the dress. They use Clara's sketch as the ultimate blueprint. Adrian helps refine the technical seams. Clara drapes the fabric. Adrian mutters to himself as he cuts the fabric. He is not ostentatious, not loud, something that whispers power, something that makes people lean in instead of pull away. This dress needs to tell a story without words. Clara continues working with the fabrics. Her concentration is absolute. Her hands move with precision. She works late into the night. She's driven by something deeper than obligation. She's driven by the knowledge that this dress is her voice. This dress is what she's been unable to say with words. Clara speaks as they work. She says the burgundy needs to look like it contains light. And the gold. The gold needs to be placed just where it catches the eye. The gold needs to make people understand that there's something sacred here. There's something powerful here. On day 10, they are fitting the dress on a form. Adrian speaks as they work. He says the seams need to be perfect. Every single stitch matters. This is not fast fashion. This is not something made for consumption. This is something made for transformation. This dress is going to transform Clara's life. Clara works late into the night. Her hands move with precision and care. Adrian speaks softly to her. He says his mother would have understood this. His mother would have understood that creating beauty for someone is an act of revolution when that someone has been told they're invisible. Creating beauty is a form of resistance. Creating beauty is a form of power. On day 18, Clara is doing the final, intricate beading work. She's sitting at Adrian's table with materials spread before her. She has hundreds of beads. Each one needs to be placed individually. Each one needs to be sewn by hand. There's no shortcut. There's no machine that can do this. This has to be done by human hands, by intention, by care. Adrian watches her work. He smiles as he watches her. He asks her how many hours this is. Hand-sewn beading where each bead is placed individually. How long does this take? It's 100 hours, maybe 200. But time doesn't matter when you're creating something that matters. Time is just the evidence of intention. Time is just proof that you cared enough to put in the work. A young assistant in the studio watches them work. He watches Adrian and Clara laboring over this dress. He watches them treating every detail like it matters. He asks why they're putting so much effort into this. He says it's just a dress. It's just fabric and beads and thread. Clara looks up from her work. Her voice is firm. She says it's never just a dress. Every garment tells a story. Every stitch is a sentence. Every bead is a word. And this dress is going to tell the story of a woman who was told she was invisible and refused to believe it. This dress is going to tell the story of a woman who created her own visibility. By day 22, the dress is finished. Adrian and Clara step back from the form. They look at what they've co-created. It's burgundy and gold. It's elegant and powerful at the same time. The fabric seems to glow from within. The beading is so intricate that it looks like the dress is moving even when it's still. When you look at it, you understand that this is art. This is not just clothing. This is an expression of something deeper. This is beauty made manifest. Adrian speaks with satisfaction. He says it's perfect. This is perfect. This is everything it needs to be. This is more than enough. This dress is extraordinary. They carefully remove the dress from the form. They place it in a garment bag made of the finest silk. Clara holds the bag in her hands when she puts this on. When she walks into that ballroom wearing this dress, everything changes, not just because of the dress, but because she designed her own ticket to be seen. She created her own narrative. She wrote her own story. Clara sits on her bed the evening before the gala. She can't sleep. She holds the garment bag containing the dress. She's terrified, but she's also exhilarated. The emotions are battling inside her, fear and hope. Anxiety and anticipation. She speaks to herself in the quiet darkness. She asks what she's gotten into. Victoria is going to try to humiliate her. Victoria thinks Clara is going to look like a fool, but this is Clara's dress. Clara drew it. Clara chose the fabric. Adrian helped her build it, but it came from her. It came from her hands. It came from her vision. It came from her heart. She opens the garment bag and looks at the dress. It's more beautiful than anything she's ever seen. The craftsmanship is extraordinary. Every detail is perfect. The way the burgundy catches the light, the way the gold shimmers, the precision of every bead, every stitch, every line. Clara continues speaking to herself. She says Adrian Beaumont believed in her sketches. Why? Why would a master fashionista care about a maid's designs? Because the art is real. Because talent doesn't care about your social position. Because art recognizes art. She thinks about Victoria's words. She thinks about what it will feel like to walk into that ballroom, to be recognized as helping, to feel the shift in people's faces when they realize what she is, but also to see them understand what she's created, to see them realize that she's not just helping, she's an artist. Clara says aloud to herself that she's going to walk in there and let them look. They will see a maid, but they will also see a designer. They will see an artist. They will see someone who refused to be invisible. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's more than okay. Maybe this is her moment. Maybe this is her chance to become something more than what the world has told her she is. She lies down and stares at the ceiling. The dress hangs in the darkness beside her. It's a promise. It's a weapon. Its visibility is physical. It's everything she's been working toward. It's everything she's been dreaming about. It's proof that talent can't be suppressed. Proof that genius will find a way to express itself. The Harlow Grand at 7:15 in the evening. The night is alive with energy and anticipation. Red carpet chaos, photographers screaming, journalists pushing against barriers, the Chicago elite arriving in their luxury cars, everyone dressed to the nines. Everyone is important, everyone is powerful. Sleek black town car pulls up to the entrance. The paparazzi swarm, photographers jostle for position. Journalists press against velvet ropes. Security personnel stand at attention. The car door opens. Time seems to suspend itself. Clara steps out. She's wearing a burgundy and gold gown. The dress is absolutely breathtaking. The dress glows under the lights. Every detail is visible. The geometric draping that reveals architectural perfection. The hand-sewn gold beading that catches light and throws it back in patterns that seem to shift as she moves. The burgundy fabric that seems to contain its own light source. The gold that shimmers with intentional perfection. The entire red carpet goes silent, photographers lower their cameras, journalists stop talking mid-sentence, security personnel stare in awe. The moment is so powerful that it renders everyone speechless. A photographer finds his voice first. He whispers that the dress is not just beautiful, the structure, the lines. That's Adrian Beaumont's signature, but the concept is entirely fresh. A journalist screams into his phone. He says they need to stop the presses. This is the story. This is what they've been waiting for. Clara walks forward with quiet confidence. She doesn't rush. She doesn't hide. She doesn't apologize for the attention. She walks as if she belongs here. She walks as if the entire red carpet is hers. The dress moves with her like it's alive. The burgundy catches the light and glows. The gold shimmers with perfection. Every step she takes is deliberate. Every movement is controlled. She is undeniable. Victoria is standing in the crowd. She's watching. Her expression shifts from smug to horrified. Her jaw drops. Her face goes pale. Beside Victoria, Juliet and Jessica stand frozen. Their smug smiles have vanished. Their eyes are wide with shock. Clara reaches the entrance. She pauses. She turns slightly. She looks directly at Victoria. There's no fear in her eyes. Only quiet strength. Clara walks into the ballroom. The ballroom is filled with people. Designers, celebrities, philanthropists, the Chicago elite. All of them were dressed in designer clothes. All of them are important. All of them are powerful. And then Clara walks in. The room goes quiet. Heads turn. Eyes focus. Attention shifts. Clara walks through the ballroom. The dress catches the light. The burgundy glows. The gold shimmers. Everyone is watching her. Victoria approaches Clara. She takes Clara's arm. She says she'll introduce Clara to some people. Clara responds, "Yes, ma'am." She falls into her old role. She follows Victoria's lead, but then something different happens. As Victoria introduces Clara to people, the reaction is not what Victoria expected. The first socialite approaches them. She asks Victoria who her beautiful guest's voice is sharp. She aims to cut Clara down. She says this is Clara. She works for Victoria. She cleans Victoria's toilets actually. The socialite's face changes. But she looks from Victoria in a magnificent gown. She says, "Oh, well, Clara looks like royalty. Whoever designed that dress is a genius." They move to the next group. A businessman greets them warmly. He asks Victoria to introduce them to her friend. Victoria corrects him coldly. She says Clara is her employee. Victoria gave Clara a small allowance to see if Clara could pull an outfit together, just for a little joke. It seems Clara got lucky. The businessman studies Clara carefully. He completely ignores Victoria's bitterness. He says Clara certainly looks stunning. That dress is extraordinary. The geometry of the draping is incredible. Clara feels the weight of Victoria's insults, but she keeps her head high. She knows the truth behind the fabric. She knows what she created. She knows that the dress is doing something that Victoria didn't anticipate. The dress is creating visibility, not invisibility. The dress is creating respect, not disdain. At 8 o'clock, the whispers start. People are asking questions about Clara. Someone has recognized the signature tailoring of Adrienne Beaumont's house, but the design is different. The design is fresh. The design is revolutionary, one socialite whispers to her friend. She says that's definitely Adrienne Beaumont's craftsmanship, but the design is so avant-garde, so different from his usual style. Who actually made it? Her friend responds. She says Victoria said Clara is just a maid, but look at her. A maid doesn't walk into a room looking like the designer herself. A maid doesn't carry herself with that kind of confidence. A maid doesn't wear a dress with that kind of vision. The mystery of Clara Carver is growing, and Victoria's control over the evening is slipping away by the second. Adrian appears at their table. He's impeccable and purposeful. He looks at Clara and his expression softens into proud admiration. He says, "Clara, the dress, your design. How does it feel to wear your own art?" Clara smiles. Her eyes are shining. She says, "It feels like a dream, sir. Thank you for helping me build." Turns to Victoria with purpose in his voice. He says, "Victoria, we need to talk." Victoria nods. Her jaw is clenched. She says, "Of course." Adrian leads Victoria away from the table. They find a quiet corner. Once they're alone, Adrian asks directly what Victoria is doing. "What's happening here?" Victoria tries to act haughty. She says she invited Clara. She let her use Victoria's connection to Adrian's studio. Victoria expected Adrian to give Clara a basic dress, not make her look like the belle of the ball. Adrian's voice is quiet but intense. He says he didn't design that dress. Clara did. She brought Adrian a portfolio of sketches that outshine half the people in this room. Victoria tried to humiliate Clara by forcing her to represent Victoria's house, thinking she would fail. But Victoria didn't pay for Clara's style. Clara brought her own style. Clara brought her own genius. Victoria's defense is cold. She says Clara is her help. Clara is a servant. That dress doesn't change reality. Adrian responds firmly. He says Victoria wanted to use a human being as a joke for entertainment. Victoria's husband left her because she was willing to destroy him to feel powerful for one night. And now Victoria is trying to do the same thing to a woman who has worked loyally for Victoria for 6 years. Does Victoria see the pattern? Does Victoria understand what she's doing? Victoria's voice is cold. She says she sees that Adrian is overstepping. Adrian speaks with finality. He says he's going to do something, and Victoria is going to watch it happen. And Victoria is going to understand that she never owned Clara's talent. She never controlled Clara's genius. She never owned Clara at all. Victoria asks desperately what Adrian is going to do. Adrian's response is quiet but absolute. He says he's going to make sure everyone knows exactly whose genius they're looking at. The lights dim. The music changes. Adrian appears on stage with a microphone in his hand. He speaks with confidence and authority. His voice carries through the entire ballroom. Adrian says, "Good evening, everyone." He wanted to add something to tonight's program, something important, something that he thinks this fashion community needs to see and hear. The room goes quiet. Adrian is a legend. Everyone listens. Everyone respects his voice. Everyone pays attention when Adrian speaks. Adrian continues. He says there's a woman here tonight wearing a gown that has captured the attention of every person in this ballroom. Many people have praised Adrian for it, but tonight he must confess the truth. He did not design this dress. A collective gasp echoes through the room. Victoria's face goes completely pale. Clara looks up. Her heart is pounding. Adrian speaks with passion in his voice. He says the brilliant mind behind this masterwork belongs to a woman who has spent the last 6 years being treated as if she were completely invisible. She has served. She has cleaned. She has been told that she is mediocre. Adrian pauses. He lets the weight of his words settle over the shocked crowd. Adrian continues with intensity. He says her employer invited her tonight as a cruel joke. She was expected to look out of place. She was expected to fail. Adrian pauses again. The silence in the room is absolute. Adrian continues. But instead of failing, this woman brought her own original sketches and drapes to Adrian's studio. She used this invitation as a canvas for her own genius. Her name is Clara Carver. She is the fashion designer of the gown she is wearing. Adrian merely had the honor of helping her construct, looks directly at Clara. He says, "Clara, will you come up here please?" Clara looks at Victoria. Victoria's expression is filled with sheer horror. Clara hesitates. She doesn't think she can do this. She doesn't think she can walk to that stage and face everyone. Adrian's voice is gentle but firm. He says, "Please, Clara, it's time for the world to see the designer." Clara stands on shaking legs. She walks to the stage. The entire room is watching her. She climbs the stairs slowly. She stands beside Adrian. Adrian begins to speak again. His voice carries through the entire ballroom. He says this is what true fashion is. It is not about a budget or status. It is about the soul. It is about intention. It is about raw talent. Adrian continues. He says, "Walk across this stage, Clara. Show them your design." Clara takes a breath. She steps forward. She walks slowly across the stage. As she walks, the dress catches the light. The burgundy glows, the gold shines. The crowd realizes they're looking at a brilliant new artist. People start to stand. First a few designers, then the celebrities, then the philanthropists, until the entire ballroom is on their feet. Everyone is giving her a standing ovation. The applause is deafening. Adrian walks out onto the stage and takes Clara's hand. He raises it high. Cameras flash rapidly. Journalists stand on chairs to get a video of the true star of the Chicago Gala. Back at the table, Victoria sits completely alone in the dark. She's frozen. Her plan has unraveled into dust. The woman she tried to publicly break has just been launched into fashion stardom. The story explodes across the internet. Social media cannot look away from the incredible twist at the Chicago Gala. Videos of Adrian's speech trend globally. Videos of Clara's walk trend globally. Every platform is talking about Clara. Every comment section is praising her. Every fashion community is discussing her designs. Inside the venue, a crowd of elite guests has completely surrounded Clara. Everyone wants to talk to the new fashion sensation. Everyone wants to know who she is. Everyone wants to understand how someone so talented could have been invisible. A famous socialite approaches Clara with genuine awe. She says the geometric lines on the bodice are revolutionary. Clara did this while working full-time. How is that possible? Clara responds quietly. She says, "Yes, ma'am." She sketched in secret under the kitchen counter for years. She sketched every night after work. She sketched on weekends. She sketched whenever she had a moment of privacy. A major fashion investor steps forward eagerly. He says, "Clara, I want to fund your first independent collection. Your perspective is exactly what the industry needs." "I want to be part of your journey," Clara responds thoughtfully. She's still processing everything. She says, "Thank you so much. I want to learn the full business first, but I am ready to create. I'm ready to build something on my own." 10 o'clock. The ballroom is clearing. The staff is cleaning up empty glasses and plates. Clara finds Victoria standing alone near the entrance. Victoria is looking bitter and defeated as she waits for her car. Clara approaches her. Clara says, "Ma'am." Victoria turns. Her eyes are filled with pure venom. She says, "Clara thinks she's clever, doesn't she?" Clara used Victoria's name. Clara used Victoria's money. Clara used Victoria's invitation to launch her pathetic little hobby. Clara responds calmly and firmly. She says Victoria gave her an allowance to buy a dress because Victoria expected her to look ridiculous. Clara didn't use Victoria's money to buy status. Clara used her own hands and her own designs to show who Clara really argues viciously. She says Clara is still just a maid. A few minutes of applause from fickle people won't change Clara's background. In 6 months, they'll forget Clara's name and Clara will be back on her knees scrubbing floors. Clara will be back to serving. Clara will be back to being invisible. Clara looks directly at Victoria. For the first time, Clara doesn't feel small. She sees a woman desperately clinging to a collapsing tower of fake power. She sees a woman whose entire identity is built on making other people feel small. She sees a woman who is now powerless. Clara speaks with quiet determination. She says she won't be back on Monday. Victoria. Clara is resigning. Adrian has offered her a full-time partnership and apprenticeship in his studio to develop her own line. Clara is going to design. Clara is going to create. Clara is going to build a career based on her own talent. Victoria handles the rejection terribly. Her voice shakes with disbelief. She says Clara will fail. Clara doesn't have the education or the connections to make it in this industry. Clara responds thoughtfully. She says maybe, but it will be Clara's own work, not Victoria's entertainment. Clara's success or failure will be on Clara. Clara will own it completely. Clara turns and walks toward the exit. Victoria yells after her. Her voice is cracking in the empty lobby. She screams that Clara is still nobody. Clara is nothing without Victoria's world. Clara doesn't look back. She steps out into the night. The cool air hits her face. She's free. She's free from Victoria. She's free from the role of invisible maid. She's free to become who she was always meant to be. She walks away from the mansion and toward her future, later that night in the Ashford mansion. Victoria sits in her silent study. The glow of her phone lights up her face. She's watching the viral videos of the gala. Every comment section is tearing her reputation apart. People are calling her cruel. People are saying she's a bully. People are saying that Victoria tried to destroy someone's life and instead created their greatest opportunity. Victoria is reading the comments. Every single one cuts like a knife. Her phone rings. It's Juliet. Juliet's voice is completely cold. She says, Victoria, the press is calling me. They're asking if I was part of your plan to humiliate Clara. They have clips of us laughing in the kitchen. My family cannot be tied to this kind of mean girl cruelty. Do not call me again. We are done. The line goes dead. Victoria's hands shake. She tries to process what just happened. Her friend has abandoned her. The friend who participated in this cruelty. The friend who helped plan this humiliation. Juliet is running away. Juliet is distancing herself. Juliet is saving herself. The phone rings again. It's Jessica. Jessica's voice is panicked and furious. She says, Victoria, my husband's firm just lost a major luxury account because of your viral stunt. Everyone knows we were sitting together. Everyone thinks we were part of this. I cannot be associated with you anymore. You ruined your own life. Don't drag me down with you. The call cuts off abruptly. Victoria looks out the dark window of her massive mansion. She's completely isolated. She's abandoned by the friends who enabled her cruelty. She's realizing that her cruelty cost her everything. Her reputation is destroyed. Her friendships are destroyed. Her world is collapsing 3 months later. The location is Adrian's studio. Clara is working full-time as a designer. She's not a servant anymore. She's a respected designer. She's a creator. She's an artist. Fabric swatches and sketchbooks cover the large tables. Adrian is teaching her advanced color theory. They're working on her debut collection. They're building something beautiful. Adrian speaks with passion. He says color is never just color, Clara. It's an emotion. It's a feeling. It's a story. When Clara chose that burgundy, she chose the color of quiet strength. She chose the color of someone who refuses to be broken. Clara smiles. She's looking over her new sketches. She says the gold was about bringing the light out from the shadows. It was about taking something that was hidden and making it visible. Adrian nods proudly. He says exactly. Clara understands the story because she lived it. He says now he wants her to look at this blank canvas. He wants her to design a premier collection for women who have spent their lives being ignored. Clara needs to give them their visibility. Clara needs to tell their stories through fabric and design and art. Clara looks at the sketchbook. Her mind is racing with beautiful ideas. She's thinking about everyday heroes. She's thinking about workers. She's thinking about creators. She's thinking about all the people whose talent has been hidden. She's thinking about all the people who have been told they're invisible. She takes a deep breath. She picks up her pencil. She says, let's begin. And as she begins to sketch, the camera pulls back. We see Adrian and Clara working together. We see the studio filled with light and possibility. We see the beginning of something beautiful. We see the continuation of a story about visibility and talent and the unstoppable power of refusing to be broken. Before we finish this story, I want to ask you something. What do you think about how this turned out? Victoria tried to use her wealth to orchestrate a public humiliation. She thought she had all the power. She thought she could control what happened. She thought she could break someone who didn't have her resources or her status or her connections. But she was completely unaware that the woman cleaning her house possessed a genius that money couldn't buy. Clara didn't just survive the trap. Clara rewrote the script. Clara took Victoria's cruel invitation and transformed it into an opportunity. Clara took the humiliation that was supposed to be her undoing and turned it into her greatest triumph. Clara refused to accept Victoria's narrative. Clara created her own narrative. Clara designed her own dress. Clara designed her own destiny. It makes you think about the people in our lives who we might look right through. The people who keep our world running. The people who clean. The people who serve. The people who organize. Do we see them as full human beings with passions and dreams and immense value, or are they invisible to us? Do we see them at all? Clara didn't need a gala or a rich woman's approval to matter. Her value was always there. Her value was hidden in her secret sketchbooks. Her value was in the meals she prepared with care. Her value was in the rooms she organized with intention. The dress she designed didn't create her worth. The dress just made her worth undeniable to a room full of people who were previously blind to what I want you to understand as we wrap up this story. This isn't really a story about revenge. This isn't about Clara getting back at Victoria. This is a story about the unstoppable power of self-expression. This is a story about what happens when you believe in your own talent even when no one else does. This is a story about what happens when you decide that you're not going to wait for permission. You're not going to wait for someone to tell you you're worthy. You're going to create your own worth. You're going to make yourself undeniable. So I need to ask you something. How does Clara's triumph change the way you look at the talent hidden all around you? Are there people in your life who you've been looking right through? Are there people whose genius you haven't seen? And more importantly, what talent are you hiding? What have you been afraid to show? What have you been keeping secret? Because if Clara's story teaches us anything, it's that visibility starts with you. Your genius doesn't need anyone's approval. Your talent doesn't need anyone's permission. Your worth doesn't depend on whether other people believe in you. So here's what I'm asking you to do right now. If you loved Clara's story, if you believe in the power of hidden talent becoming undeniable, if you're someone who has ever felt invisible and wants to watch someone else refuse that narrative, then I need you to like this video. Smash that like button. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think. Tell me what this story made you feel. Tell me if you have a talent that you've been hiding. Tell us if you've ever felt underestimated, and please subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss our upcoming videos, because we're building a community of people who believe that everyone has genius inside them. Everyone has the ability to create something beautiful. Everyone has the power to become undeniable. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anyone's approval. You just need courage. You just need to decide that you're going to stop being invisible. Clara proved it on that stage that night. The world doesn't make you invisible. You do. You choose visibility. You choose your own dress. You choose your own narrative. You choose to become undeniable. So the question now is, what are you going to do? What genius are you going to unleash? What story are you going to tell? Drop your thoughts below. Tell us what talent you're hiding. Tell us what dreams you've been keeping secret, because the world is waiting for what you're going to create, and we're here to celebrate it with you. So subscribe, like, comment, share this story. And most importantly, believe in yourself the way Clara believed in herself, because your visibility starts now. Thank you for watching.